Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison, and I want to welcome you to day 43 of Humanity Rising. Every day since the 22nd of May, from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock p.m. Central European Time, we've created essentially an open space, a common ground for people from all over the world to come together to share their experiences as we all traverse this pandemic that's put nearly all of us into some form of lockdown. And we come together more deeply to confer as to how people of goodwill that are working tirelessly for a better world can come together in a way that is so strategically effective that we actually can shape the post-pandemic world into something that is more sustainable and abundant and healthy and in alignment with natural systems. I've emphasized consistently the critical nature of our time. That scientists tell us that largely because of runaway climate change and a range of other issues, we're running out of time. It's also true that we have all the time in the world, and that in the midst of the chaos, our challenge is simply to create coherence. In the midst of the hatred, it's our task to simply manifest love. In the face of the fear that's being instigated, our task is simply to manifest hope. And where there's stress, our task is to manifest calm. While Rome burns, we playfully need to dance the revolution, not succumbing to the critical nature of our time, but because we're focused with all of our intention on building a new world. The more energetically we can express the joy and the hope and the love and the embrace of what's new, the healthier we are in our own souls, the more effective we are in the world, and the more integral we become to what Martin Luther King said was his deepest bedrock of faith. That in the end, he said, his faith was that the universe bends toward justice. And that's what allows us to dance the revolution and to celebrate life wherever we are and however we can. Because it's that capacity to create meaning out of the silence that gives us so much purpose and helps fill our heart with gratitude and joy, exuberance, and audaciousness. So I just wanted on this particular day to emphasize the playfulness with which we need to engage in ardent revolutionary activity. And I wanted to do that in introducing the conveners of today, Alexander Shafer and Amani, who I had the pleasure of meeting, I think it was 4 years ago in Chartres, where they came to one of our sessions on the great liberal arts. I think it was on the liberal art of rhetorica with Jean Houston, which celebrates the power of the word. And Rama, I can still remember in one of our sessions, danced the word. And I've gotten to know them, and they are as joyful a couple as I've ever met. And it happens to be the case, my friends, that today is their 10th wedding anniversary. And they wanted to share it with all of us and convene a panel about how one creates a habitat for humanity in the home as we integrate our personal and our professional lives into a seamless whole. So we celebrate the two of you on the occasion of your 10th anniversary. And Alexander Rama, I'd like to now turn the floor over to you.
Hello. We are waiting to see yes.
You're on.
Wonderful. Jim, I just want to pick up a couple of words that you mentioned: joy, hope, love, playfulness. And indeed, it's a way how we try to live our marriage, but it is also the way how we seek to invite everyone today into this panel where we literally cross the planet. And we want to begin with a word of gratitude, Jim, to you and your team, to Humanity Rising Global Solutions Summit, because this is an extraordinary, joyful, significant, and important event of our time.
And what I love about the way you've introduced every one of these sessions, Jim, is bringing in the gravity and the levity, the beauty, the joy, and in the middle of all of it, love. So we couldn't think of a more beautiful way to celebrate our 10th wedding anniversary than in this company of humanity itself and Humanity Rising. We want to start perhaps by introducing the wonderful people you will meet today, because in a way they are a microcosm of Humanity Rising, of all ages, nationality, not all nationalities, but all continents and such different backgrounds. And then we will go one by one, continent by continent around the world. We'll do a little introduction and then move on. So already meet the great people you're going to spend the rest of this love evening of co-creation with.
So then welcome to the Home for Humanity story, the artistry of integral world making. Our homes hold power, and meet our co-creators, collaborators, and participants in this transcontinental roundtable from around the world. And we begin with Her Excellency Haifa Najjar from Jordan. She's a member of the upper house of the Jordanian parliament. She's superintendent of two of the most fascinating schools I've seen in Amman, and there's much more to say. I want to introduce, who is not yet on screen, Father Anselm Adodo. He's the founder from Pax Herbal, fascinating enterprise in Nigeria. Then moving to Sri Lanka, all across the planet, we are meeting Dr. Vinya Ariyaratne, president of the Savodaya movement. And then we are flying to Egypt. We're flying to Egypt, where we meet Dr. Max Aboulesh, who is the Chief Sustainable Development of the world-famous SECM Group. And then, if it were not enough, we are flying to Brazil. And in Brazil, we meet two future world makers, Anya Costamani and Katie Weintraub. And this is the journey today. And we want to say, this is not just a roundtable. This is about co-creation, as you will see. And we want to invite everyone in the audience into this space of co-creation. So do use the chat, share your opinions, send your emails through if you want to stay in contact, or if you see a possibility to enlarge what we are doing together within the larger ethos and framework of Humanity Rising.
And we've so loved the way all the participants throughout at Humanity Rising have been so creative, so poetic, so imaginative of the future we want to bring in. So as I mentioned now, we will go into the introductory session. So we just say a hello to all of you around the world, our beloved co-creators across generations and continents. And we will now request, I believe that George, who's hosting the show, will put the spotlight one by one on each of us so we can really feel we are in your home country as we talk to you. So right now we invite you all into Home for Humanity. And for now you will be off the video, but we will be opening up the joint video chat as soon as we finish this introduction and move into the roundtable. So with that, let us go into Home for Humanity.
And because we are going into Home for Humanity, and George, if you can put us on speaker view, might be easier. We want to begin not with 3 ohms to tune us in, but jointly, and perhaps you can do it in your own home, with 3 homes. So we are going to ring the bell, the prayer ball, and we will speak 3 homes together, and thereby connecting across our beloved Earth planet through our homes. Home. George, if you can put us on speaker view.
Well, you are on speaker view. You are spotlighted on speaker view. So, but you can decide who you want to see. So maybe if you uncancel Jim, then you should be back.
Beautiful. Thank you for that beautiful home that we could feel across space and time in all your melodious, deep voices.
And we are taking the energy of home into 2 poems. The first is about home holds power. Home, this rare word, always traveling with us, within us, leaving home, returning home, being in or far from home, being hosted or a host, being born, facing death. It's never about stones, so nor an address. It is about belonging to a circle, a tribe, a kin. It is about knowing that the water of the source is flowing also for you, is flowing also for me.
Beloved. Home for Humanity's prayer. Make our home your temple. Make our life your lamp. Make our heart your altar. Make our soul your shrine. Make love our one prayer. Make silence our song. Make unity our vision. Make creation our vocation. Make laughter my doorbell that rings all day long. Make joy the nourishment we feed each cherished guest. Make sharing our sustenance and giving our creed. Make humanity our family, each animal our kin, each tree our sibling on our precious Mother Earth. Oh, make our home your temple, make our souls your shrine.
And with this evocation, we are now ready to go on our journey. And the first two sequences will be covered by Rama, then Alexander, and then we are going to take the plane.
Mm-hmm. What if? This is time for imagination. And so let's begin with a poem for these times. What if the COVID infection and Floyd demonstrations are positive contagions that have come to shatter our old human fetters, to open our eyes to what really matters, to set free the artist caged and waiting in each of our hearts, to envision and enact a just and regenerative future, to transform our divided world at last into a united home for all life on earth. What if? And the beauty is that this time that we've all been longing for, we world makers, we dreamers and doers and actualizers, we, the humanity rising communities around the world, is now happening faster and faster. And we can hear the knocking on our doors, on the inner doors of our hearts. Going back to my childhood in India, where I spent the first 18 years growing up, it was inhumanity that broke my heart. It was injustice that pulled me forward. But for some reason from the beginning, injustice to me was never a call to go to the courtrooms or to seek like institutional changes. Yes, that was necessary. But what I dreamt of is we humans created these systems of injustice. So can't we simply exercise our creativity and imagination? Can't we reignite our humanity to create a new world where such inhumanity, such dehumanization, such injustice simply cannot be? In all my work in peace building and restoring justice after wars and conflicts and genocides, what I saw is everywhere on every continent and every culture, how in the midst of crisis, when their homes had been shattered and bombed, when their families had been destroyed, when all hope seemed at end, people went into their inner home. Not all of them, but there was always in every community a few that did. And they ignited that little lamp in there. They transformed themselves. They became fully human again. And that gave them the charge to become a home, a new home of hope in their communities for societal renewal, for peace, for a future for all. But it was only 13 years ago, actually under our beloved ash tree, the Yggdrasil of our home, where I met Alexander for the first time. And when we began to live together in this home, in the rural French Jura between Geneva and Lyon, that something began to happen. I discovered his integral, multicultural, or rather transcultural approach to life. And then I could make the healing work of my own life, healing others, but also healing myself of the trauma I had gone through while I was working in conflict during the war in Sri Lanka. I could make that whole, and I could transform my life's work into the truly regenerative art form and academic methodology that I call theater of transformation. Alexander will tell you more about his approach to the integral worlds model in a few minutes. Our wedding vow exactly 10 years ago was a turning point, blessed by 6 human guides, beacons of humanity from all continents, and a small group of beloved co-creators from around the world who had dedicated their lives to transformation. And blessed by them, we sowed the seed of our wedding vow in which we said, becoming fully human is our only goal in life, and serving humanity till our last breath on this beloved earth is our only wish. And over these years, as we've seen friends, co-creators flow through these doors, we have experienced and witnessed how they have been transformed simply by feeling a sense of belonging, whatever background they were from. And that's helped us to realize the 4 levels of home, which we'd always seen outside in our work in the world, but now we could bring it home to this home and to each of our collaborators' homes. The inner home of our own souls, our own hearts, our inner access point to becoming fully human and living in unity with the universe. Our physical homes, and you'll see with our friends and co-creators today how each of their homes became a place in the midst of such challenges for the society to come together and renew itself, renew culture, and renew our future. Our organizational homes, for each of our homes has that capacity, as so many of you who are here with us today know from your experience, to be a home for everyone you work with and everyone you serve. And then this beloved planet, our Earth home. When we can feel at home, part of Mother Earth, we can truly be at home in every level and create a world that's a home for humanity, for all life, for all life. I was going to share a little story with you to show that these homes exist in every part of the world, even in the slums and ghettos around the world. I was going to bring you a story from the slums of Mumbai, close to where I grew up. I'll save that for later because I want to hand over now to Alexander. But if time permits, I will come back with my beloved sisters from the slums of Mumbai, who have truly shown me how we can be at home in ourselves, in our homes, and create the world we truly dream of. But for now, over to my beloved Alexander.
Thank you, Rama. I'm always touched listening to you. And, we made a decision also that this 10th wedding anniversary is also not just a reignition of our wedding vow that Rama partly cited, but also that we want to strengthen this collaboration between us and also go through the fire of co-creation, because it's a beautiful term, but it is not an easy task. Because if you look in the world, we are needing, as Jim evoked, a higher level of resonance, but we are needing this in a climate where it is often difficult to breathe. And before, I want to share a little bit about my story and about what we call the art of integral world making. I want to begin and open with a poem that speaks, hopefully, to our time. I can't breathe. Today, we stand as brothers and, of course, sisters. Today, we stand as brothers, feeling the pain of others, freeing our hearts from ice, bred out of hubris, born from sacrifice, grown over 100,000 years of violence, injustice, fears. It's time to pierce through all this suffocation. It's time for tears of true reconciliation. It's time for justice, healing, peace. Time for a world where everyone can breathe. When I grew up in Germany, I was torn between 2 impulses. The one was the joy of life, which I always had abundantly in me. But the other one was also the pain of the fragmentation that I could feel not only in German history and in my own context, but in the world. The imbalances that we noticed in the world that could no longer sustain life. When I was in school, in universities, I felt there is no spirit, no nature, and also no art and culture, and hence not sufficient innovation. The spirit of ourselves wasn't released. And when I was at university, I began to see it, or it arrived within me, a dream that one day I would co-create, I would build what I then called a holistic campus. Well, little did I know that later I would meet Rama, and in our home, in Home for Humanity, we would begin to actualize this story. But before that, some 18 years ago, I began then to actively co-create an integral approach to life that, together with a whole array of co-creators from around the world, is focusing on an approach which is a whole person approach, a whole system approach, a whole world approach, bringing the voice of every culture in, and it is life-centered. And when we talk about integral, we mean that literally all dimensions of a living system, be it on the inner home that Rama evoked, be it in our home, be it in our outer organizational or community homes, be it in the world, have to come into this shared space if we want to create a regenerative approach to life. And these dimensions are for and foremost nature. It is culture. It is innovation, wisdom, and knowledge. And it is our economy, our political systems, our enterprise system. And it is in the center, the unity between all of them. We studied and met and engaged with and co-created with cutting-edge pioneers from literally the entire world. We were engaging with leading thinkers who began to live and practice an integral approach to life, to enterprise, to economy, and to societies. And together we co-created a new integral knowledge base. You see it partly behind me. It's our Routledge Innovation and our Transformation and Innovation book series that we have co-created, and that forms, if you so want, a new curriculum for the kind of transformative processes and programs that we are offering, and embedded in that a pedagogy. And I think of people like Freire, a pedagogy which is liberating, which is decolonizing, which allows us to innovate, and foremost, which enables everyone to contribute and to make a contribution to a regenerative life. So over time, over the last 12, 14 years, we developed a bachelor course, a junior fellowship, which allows young people to travel the world and to participate with pioneering organizations and make their contribution, a master's program, a PhD program on integral development, and we went beyond. And in each case, people connect with their passion, connect with a burning issue in their context, make a contribution, develop newly local knowledge that they can bring home in their own personality, in their own context, in their own organizations. So the 4 levels of home that Rama evoked are continuously part of this pedagogy and of our transformative process. I so believe, and I can see it, that we need each person to fully tap into his or her own power. And so we need each culture. And when you look behind me, you see also a little bit of a display of different cultures. This is part of our home for humanity, that here humanity and all our cultural expressions have a space. We need cultural diversity in order to bring our earth, our humanity to full flourishing. And hence, what I would love to share, how each of these programs that I mentioned literally comes home. Students who do a bachelor course, a PhD module, come literally home to Home for Humanity to take them out of a conventional educational environment and experience a place which is aspiring. It's by no means perfect. It's a simple home, but it's aspiring to bring the integrality of life to life, so we can engage with this and build it. And it's aspiring to bring the different cultures in. Let me give you a couple of examples. Let me take the latest bachelor course, which we did with the Swiss University of St. Gallen, where people worked with 5 cases. 4 of them are here in the call, and you're going to meet that, a course on reshaping international development. And the young people would participate and work directly with these cases to develop integral learning to innovation journeys for future world makers. Then we have a junior fellowship where these young people, as I mentioned, travel the world. And I just want to show you one example of a bachelor thesis which became a published book of a young man called Silvan Büchler from Switzerland, who went to our partner organization in India and created with a fascinating school for mentally challenged girls an holistic approach to education with the local teachers. We have PhD people who bring their own organizations into integral enterprises. And we actually went beyond what we know as a PhD. We developed PhD, a process for holistic developments for people who are not even interested in the official PhD degree can participate in joining this process because they are keen to engage in a holistic approach to developing themselves and their societies. In Slovenia, and this is in the societal dimension, we had the opportunity to work with an entire society to create an integral economy. And Slovenia is proud to be the only country on the planet that has love. Slovenia has love in its name. And it became actually, Jim, you evoked this value in the beginning. It became the central value for the economy that they are seeking to develop. And it reminds me, later we are hearing Max Abulesh of the economy of love that Sechem in Egypt is trying to bring into life in a very successful way. So together, we are not just inviting people to join and to work with our programs, but together we have created Home for Humanity also as a global community hub, where these world makers have a place of constant interaction and actually where we together are called to build a new humanity. And I would like to end with a poem that may remind you of a song that you heard when, for those of you who are in about my age, when you were young, which originally was called The Wall and which today is called The Call. The Call. We do need new education. We don't need more West control. We do need regeneration. Let us heed this urgent call. Brothers, wake up. Let's transform our schools. Sisters, leaders, now you write the rules. It is time to script new futures. It's high noon for paradigm births. It is time to learn what roots us. It's for us to save our earth. Thank you. And with that, we are almost ready to travel. But Rama is first introducing our latest innovation.
So we are now ready to travel around the globe. And to give you the feeling of this travel around the globe, we have our wonderful co-founder, young, upcoming, award-winning filmmaker, visual anthropologist who's worked with refugees, with underage, unaccompanied migrants, who's worked in some of the most challenging situations, Dr. Ada Elif Tibet, who, like this, loves our Humanity Charter, which is an aspiration which brings together our work with all of our collaborators in the areas of peace and justice and development, education, etc. It's kind of a distillation. And she was inspired on her holiday to make this little film, which just came in. And George, let it roll. And then we travel with the film, see the charter, and go into the round table. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, George. This is our first screening, so you are, in a sense, our guinea pigs. We have noticed from some of the comments, and even we noticed that the text for now goes by too fast. It was a first take literally made in the last 2 days by Elif, so we will send her the feedback. But already I think you got a gist of this human journey, this universal unity journey. And so do excuse us that some of the text was too small and too fast, but thank you for being part of this preview. Thank you to Elif as well.
And because we are here together to co-create a culture in which all of us can breathe, before we travel to Jordan, let us breathe together a moment, heart to heart, home to home.
So let's maybe just put our hands, the right hand on our heart. And what we will do is just to reconnect and take home the message of each of our beloved co-creators as we go around the world. In between, as we move from continent to continent, let's just breathe and see where it resonates with us, where we feel the points of connection, where we feel in unity, in humanity, in diversity, in creativity. And with this gong, we move on from here all the way to the Middle East, to Jordan, that ancient pearl of civilization, to meet Her Excellency Haifa Najjar, a senator in the parliament, one of the most eminent and beloved members of Jordanian and Middle Eastern societies, who has brought up generations, first of young women in your first school, and now young women and young men to be a real role model for the world, for your society and the world, and who launched a whole nationwide movement of enlightenment, Tanbir. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, thank you. Thank you so very much. Jim, thank you for your beautiful initiative, Alexander and Drama. Thank you so very much. I would like to start by poetry. You know, I'm celebrating my new role as the grandmother of Shams, my first grandchild. My second daughter gave birth to Shams, a beautiful child. We called her Shams, which is the sunshine of our life. And then yesterday, my eldest daughter gave birth to Qusay. So as a grandmother, I would like to share with you in Arabic. I will try to translate the dialogue that take place between my mother, whom I lost years and years ago, and my granddaughter, Shams. Shams tells her grandmother, late grandmother, Samira, she says, جئت إلى الدنيا ماء للنهر وزهرا للأرض وعصفورا للشجرة. I came to this world to add water to the river, plants and flowers to the earth, and more birds to the tree. جئت إليك لأكون حرة وجئت إليك لأكون أنا. I came to you to be free, as you came to me to be me. جئتك كما جئتيني لنبقى أنا وأنت. I came to you as you came to me, so you and I can stay. النور عند الظلام, light during darkness. والشعر للأحباء, poetry to our beloved ones. والفرح للجيران, and happiness to our neighbors. والموسيقى للأصدقاء, music to our friends. جئتك كما جئتيني لنكون معا. I came to you as you came to me, so we can stay together, so we can unite, to be able to renew life to our living people, so we can be together to our days and our future. Medicine to the pain people, and peace to our souls. I came to you to unite with myself, with my universe, with my humanity, and with my own soul. This is from Shams. And since we are celebrating Rama's and Alexander's 10th anniversary, I decided to write a piece of poetry in Arabic as well. I'll try to translate it to English as much as I can. I feel it very much in Arabic. My third daughter's name is Wajd. Wajd is the lifelong love between two people, between a man and a woman. Al-Wajd in Arabic, it's love. It's the unconditional love. So I'm talking to Wajd. I say Wajd al-Ibna or Wajd al-Wajd. Wajd, my daughter, and Wajd, the love. You talk to me, you talk to my heart, you make my heart grow and grow and grow. You, Wajd, united my soul with me and with my universe. Rama, Alexander, both of you, you're Al-Wajd. You are, for me, you for me, as my daughter for me. You united me, your unitedness united me with my soul. And you both, as my friends, and Wajd as my daughter, made life wider, more just, happier, and resilient. أنتما الاثنان راما وألكسندر الأحباء والأصدقاء. You both, my friends and beloved ones, you have from me, thank you. You have from me prayers and prayers, so you can stay for me and for my Wajd, my daughter Wajd, and for the universe, source of goodness, source of giving, home for humanity, source for our coexistence. And in your 10th anniversary, I ask you to stay with me in my dreams, stay with me and Wajd in our imagination and our silence. Stay with us in our search for justice and unconditional love. Stay with us. We love you. This is for you, Rama and Alexander, and happy anniversary. Now I think I have to talk about our experience at my school, about my school, the Ahliya and the BSA. The main perception of our school is that we are in the heart of Jordan. Every single student in the school, our school, as much as we believe in rigor, and there is a rigorous academic program, however, we go way beyond academia and rigor into inviting a completely different model to our schooling, where our students perceive themselves as in the heart of their school in the heart of Amman. Amman is the capital of Jordan, and Jordan is in the heart of the Arab world, the Middle East, and the whole world. So whatever we do, we have to invite our heart and soul and values into it. As much as we're proud of our rootedness, our groundedness, of being a Jordanian school, of being an Arab school, we go beyond our rootedness, our own identity, our own entity, into inviting our universality. So our school is a Jordanian school, it's a rational school, it's an ethical school. I believe that it's a diverse school. Everybody believes that it is. As much as it is a collective school, we are engaged in our community. We believe in beauty. Whatever we do, we celebrate beauty. We celebrate happiness. It's very pluralist. We're open, we're rooted, as I said, we're very proud, we're transformational organization, we're truly empowered. Our schools strive to become a beacon of holistic education, a center for empowerment, research, and knowledge creation. We prepare innovative and creative leaders and strive to create a bright and dynamic future for both nationally and internationally. In the heart of our school, we believe in our enlightened humanism. And beside our hearts, we believe in innovative learning. We believe in our Arab emancipatory education. We believe in community engagement. We perceive our school as a community center, and we believe in the well-being of every single human that lives in our school. We believe that we were given the world to build and nourish, not to destroy. We also believe that our role is to enrich the earth where humans thrive in solidarity and unity. Our spirit comes from our belief in our spirit and soul, in our organization as a spirit and soul organization, as a school that always touches the heart. We believe in empathy, collaboration, respect, and enlightenment. Our strategy is built on safe and rich learning environment for every single individual in the school. We believe in our integral education. We don't teach history. However, we bring out humane historians to the world. We don't teach math. However, we bring out a humane mathematician to the world. A humane mathematician that really understands the history of the world, his reality, her own reality, and is in touch with his reality and his community. He or she would like to go beyond education into making a difference, into transforming our community, into inviting new paradigms, into inviting new mindsets. And through integral education, we believe that we are inviting happiness back. We are unjailing, we are unfolding our schools into being livable places, places that people build relations through, places that people connect with the core of themselves, connect with the other, go beyond that into connecting with with every single human in our universe and connecting with our universe. We believe that nature is a source, is a major source of knowledge, and we believe that we are lifelong learners. The cycle that we continue inviting to the world is through our daily dialogues. We don't run our classes in a way where there is a teacher that teaches. There are learners that sit on circles. We believe in collective dialogues. A teacher is a facilitator, creator, innovator, as much as the student is a facilitator of his own learning, her own learning, of the facilitator of his colleagues' learning and his teachers' learning. We all work together because we believe that our school is a center for relations. And we, despite the corona, we believe that Jordan, our country, was established on the basis of enlightenment, our shared humanity, celebrating diversity, modernity, enlightenment. And we believe that at this particular time in history, we are on the edge of bringing a new energy to Jordan. Jordan presents itself as a model. Our new model of education is very much about the student himself, about Jordan and the student, about Jordan and the world, where we would not We will start by knowing ourselves, our country, our own identity. It's a design-based school where every single student will be able to design his future, build his own understanding of himself, his surrounding, his country, and the world around him, and he will build his own vision of his own mission, and be surrounded by role models. Educationalists need to share, dialogue, heal. We fully appreciate silence in our school. Full-mindedness is there. We reflect, we take our time. Our assessment goes way beyond the marking system and the grades, where we support every single student. I support myself, my colleagues support me to continue growing, continue learning, continue visiting, continue reflecting where I have my time to reflect, to live in silence, and to connect, reconnect with myself, connect with the other, connect my colleagues, and build my newness. It's a cycle. The first value that we believe in and we share with everybody is love, justice, freedom, choice, empathy, collaboration, and healing. We continue to believe that our universe needs healing, and this is the right time for us to take Jordan into a place where Jordan will be a model in this part of the world, a model of reconciliation, a model of healing, a model of unconditional love, a model of just country, a model of a country that would always invite creativity, innovation, design, young. We believe that our schools need to reinvent itself through celebrating the youth energy and their own understanding of their community, and through bridging with the whole world. I think I will stop here, and I'm ready to answer any. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Haifa, thank you so much for taking us on your vision of unveiling, of healing, and of education that leads to enlightenment.
And for our love poem, which you're putting us together with your new grandchildren. What an honor.
Let us take just a short moment to connect back to our breath, back to our heart. And if you want, we put our right hand on our heart and just take in what we received.
Thank you. Bring it home with 3 more homes. Home. Home.
Home.
Home. Haifa's message now lives in our heart.
Haifa, and while your message, linking it back to the Humanity Charter, was very much an evocation of unity, we are now traveling to Africa, to our dear friend and colleague, Dr. Anselm Adodo, who will evoke the spirit of earth and nature. He is a most unusual man, Father Anselm Adodo. He is a monk, he is a poet, he is an entrepreneur, he's a peace builder, and I have to stop now because he's many more things. But it is fascinating to see his organization, Pax Herbals, one of Africa's leading enterprises for traditional African healing medicine. He, in a way, brings the Ayurveda of Africa to life, and he is a firm protagonist, an advocate of bringing African knowledge to the world stage. And with that, dear Anselm, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, and I'm happy to be here. I am speaking from the heart of Africa, West Africa, in Nigeria. I have been a teacher, as you said, and a poet, and I live in a monastery in Midwest Nigeria. My reflection is about my passion, which is retelling the story of Africa and the story of the world. And I would like to show you, I am surrounded in this beautiful home of mine in 40 hectares of farmland by trees and plants growing all around me, and also by books. And in my teaching, in my reflection, I always think that the world needs to continue to see the connection between the trees and the books, because I am conscious that this book in my hand was actually made from the tree, from this plant in my hand. And it keeps occurring to me that the world, we may have been led astray by a disconnect between nature and technology, between intelligence and brilliance. And where I live is where we try to demonstrate to people the importance of reconnecting. So I believe the world need a new story. We need to retell the story of the world, of the universe, because we have been telling only one story for too long. And that story is the story of unlimited progress, unlimited prosperity, unlimited happiness. And that story is one-sided. Now, the conflict we have today in the world is telling us to come back home. To come back home, where? To humanity. And this reminds me of the parable of the mountain. Yeah, the story in Africa, we tell stories a lot about humanity, human beings climbing up a high mountain to meet God, because humanity is living in a valley where there is war and strife and unhappiness, and humanity, men and women, were going up the mountain where God, they believed, was. Meanwhile, God left the mountain and was coming down to earth to meet humanity in the valley. So man left his struggle, strife, and war, disunity, to climb up the mountain of God, where man hoped to meet joy and happiness, while God descends into the valley to confront the pain and the challenges of humanity. And both of them passed each other on the way until humanity got to the mountain and discovered that he must come back home. Right there, in the midst of conflict and strife and war and disunity, there we will find God. For me, the monastery where I live is a clear symbol of that. And in my teaching, I have been able to reconstruct education in this sense, coming back home. So rather than seeing education as, putting into my students what wasn't there, trying to pour my ideas into them, I've seen that education is learning to co-create with students, to draw out educare from what is within, in humanity, in nature, for the benefit of everyone. So I've worked for the past 30 years towards reconciling the conflicts, the disunity in human self, in human society, in human communities. That has been my passion. So today, I believe the challenges of the pandemic is calling us to a new story of the universe, that we need to reclaim our story, that we came from somewhere, from nature. And we need to remind ourselves that we all breathe the same air. There are no separate air for young or old, black or white. We are all bonded together by the same humanity. Because the very thing that binds us together, generally as human beings, is free. Sunshine, air, moon, the stars, water, they are all available. They are all gifts of nature. And my work over the years is to let both my students and those I come in contact with be able to help us to reconnect, to see the connection between all this. So in my integral research, which I do together with Alexander and Rama from the Home for Humanity in France, we all come together from time to time to retell our story. And we call ourselves world changers because we believe that a group of men and women who share the same philosophy, the same beliefs, can help the world to refocus, to rechannel their energy from the relentless pursuit of material wealth, material prosperity, to a new focus on the spirit, on the soul, the mind, and the society. And it has become clear to us today that we are all bonded together as one family. So the happiness and prosperity of one part of the world should also be the happiness and prosperity of people in the other part of the world. So a few years ago, when I introduced a master's and doctoral curricula to one of Nigeria's premier universities called Transformation Studies in Africa, we try to re-explain the idea of progress or development. Development not in the sense of economics, in the sense of material prosperity, but a transformation of worldview. And this is very important for humanity today. Otherwise, we may end up destroying ourselves completely. So humanity needs help. As I said not long ago to a group of people, that the major challenge of the world today perhaps is not climate crisis or even climate change. I think it is human crisis. The fact that humanity has been able to manage the solar systems, manage science and technology, but not able to manage basic human emotions of care, kindness, love. And I think that is the most basic education that is needed for humanity today. So here I am in Nigeria, speaking, sharing ideas with people from other parts of the world, a very clear reminder that we all belong together. That if I can't breathe, then you can't breathe also. When you can breathe, then I can breathe also. Why? Because we are all sharing in the same ecosystem, the same air, the same free gifts of nature. So we all share the same humanity. That is what we are. And for Africa, the world is coming back to learn from Africa the value of community, what it means to be a community. This is very, very important. And I encourage our African brothers and sisters to see our role in the world as reminding the rest of the world of that value of coming together, Ubuntu, brotherliness, sisterliness. For me, that is what education is about. That is what development, transformation is about. And that is what we are today. Thank you very much. And I look forward to your questions, and I'll be happy to share further with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anselm, to Nigeria. And thanks for reminding us that we all share the same breath. And we are picking up an innovation from Kurt that while we are now connecting to our hearts to take in the gift that we received from Anselm, we are reaching out with our left hand to all of you. And you could all perhaps do that so that we are connecting heart to heart and home to home as we hear the gong.
Thank you, dear brother Anselm, for such, Father Anselm, but my brother, for your beautiful words. And I have to say, you know, there are hundreds of stories of people who've touched my life that I have enacted, brought to life to inspire others, to teach others, to co-create with others around the world. And your story, of course, it's always best coming from you, of how you found your vision and vocation in the midst of the forests around your monastery. But every time I share your story, it is so inspiring for all who hear it, and it really reconnects them, as many on the screen today are saying in the chat, to their nature. And there we move on to the next step of the charter, holding ourselves in the unity space that Haifa brought us to from the center of our lovely earth in the Middle East, bringing with us all of nature, all of these healing herbs that Mother Nature gives us, and taking them to that ability to renew culture, a culture of humanity, of conscience, of compassion, which is what Vinya has been doing since he was a child, which his family, his Sarvodaya movement has been doing for decades since independence. Over to you, dear Vinya, Dr. Vinya Aryaratne, a medical doctor by training, a public health practitioner who again and again, while running the biggest integrated development organization of your country, operating in 50,000 villages across the length and breadth, across ethnicities, across these divides, every time a crisis comes, whether it's the war, whether it's a tsunami, and now COVID, you are in the front lines with all of your Buddhist values of karuna, compassion, and care. We are so happy. You are an inspiration, another story that I love enacting and seeing how people are touched by. Over to you to inspire us yet again.
Thank you, Rama, and thank you, Alexander. Let me also join others wishing you a happy anniversary. If I am not mistaken, I was at Home for Humanity exactly a year ago, celebrating your 9th wedding anniversary. So I am indeed very happy and also privileged and honored to be joining this conversation today, though it is a little late in the evening here in Sri Lanka. But I'm very happy to hear the inspiring remarks and the comments by all our colleagues who believe in the value of humanity. And I'm also very happy to join the Humanity Rising movement, which Jim started. So let me reflect on my own experience growing up in a home, which was not a home just for our own family, but for the whole humanity, for the community. My father was a school teacher when he started the Sarvodaya movement in the late 1950s. And it's a movement inspired by Buddhist values, Gandhian teachings, and it's centered around the notion of sharing and trying to awaken yourself individually and collectively. So when my father, as a school teacher in a high school, a Buddhist high school in Sri Lanka, wanted to take the students in a different experience, those who were confined to the classroom learning science and mathematics and all that, he wanted to take his students to experience the post-colonial rural Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka gained independence from the British in 1948, and in the 1950s there was a a kind of a need to reclaim our culture, our deep values based on Buddhist and other religious and spiritual teachings. So this was an educational experience where the students went to a village which was considered low caste at the time when this movement started, and it was a very low social economic condition village, and the collective action for this group to live and work with the villagers to fulfill their basic needs was the start of this movement, which is today the Sri Lanka's largest grassroots movement, working on a philosophy based on these Buddhist and Gandhian values, but working across all divides in the country. So our home, which was in the city of Colombo at that time, the Colombo city itself was like a village, very simple. There wasn't, high-rise buildings in the 1950s and 60s. So the home itself became the center of the movement's activities, which spread across the country in all parts of Sri Lanka. And then as a child, I grew up in this collective community. Though it was our personal home, it was not personal in that sense, it was an open home. And then in the 1970s, we moved to another home, which became also the headquarters of the Sarvodaya movement. It was again a community where hundreds of people were living together in a community, and we were working on community development work around the country while my father was still a teacher, but later he gave up his teaching career and devoted full time to develop this movement. So the next phase of my life, after I completed my education and also professional training in medicine and public health, I, of course, started my own home with my family and children. But it's again, we carried the spirit of that being part of a larger community and leading a social change, or being part of a social change process from within our homes as well. So the fundamental principle of Sarvodaya means awakening of all. Awakening means you start that change from yourself, within yourself, and you then extend it to your family or your home, and then to your rural community, then to urban communities, and to the whole world. So it's a process that is continuing at different levels, and we look at development as an awakening process where you try to fulfill social, economic needs through a process of awakening your own spiritual and moral aspects as well. So for me, the concept of a home is also an individual who is then looked upon to be relied on at time of crisis. Sri Lanka is a country which has gone through a 30-year war due to ethnic differences, and because we did not manage our polity since independence to be very inclusive and having to have a system of governance, system of political management which was inclusive of all communities living in Sri Lanka, led to a war which lasted for nearly 3 decades, starting in 1983 and ended in 2009. And more than 100,000 people, both combatants and civilians, died during this time. And we also had 2 internal insurrections as well. So Sri Lanka had a very, very difficult time. The last 10 years since the end of the war itself was not through negotiations, but it was also through the military defeat of the separatist group. And during that period of 26 years of war, Sarvodaya as a grassroots movement has been promoting peace and reconciliation through people-to-people action. Myself, being trained also as a facilitator for dialogues, took part in some of the national level initiatives during the time of ceasefires. So I had the privilege of being the lead facilitator for some of these processes where I was able to provide a space with my own work that I was doing with different parties who were stakeholders in the conflict, and also bringing in the Sarvoday's own spiritual underpinnings to connect with people through their minds, their consciousness. I was able to be the lead facilitator and tried to bring at the next level when the big political players were negotiating and also sometimes bickering. We were able to create an environment through the next level of dialogues to influence those processes so that we could find a peaceful resolution to the war that was waging and claiming so many lives in Sri Lanka. So that was kind of providing a home within your own self. So it's an extended version of a home, a space, a trusted space. I think trust is so important in our world today. The wars are because we don't trust each other. So we have to start it from yourself, trusting your own self and extending that trust to others. Then 10 years on, in 2020 now, we face the corona situation. The COVID-19 affected all countries. And in Sri Lanka, I'm happy that we are a country which is considered to be a country that has been able to contain the virus, the epidemic quite successfully with only 11 deaths and only about 2,600 cases. And we had to, of course, face the lockdown just like all of you in your own countries. So from March, the 20th of March until just 3 weeks back, there has been an extended lockdown and people were confined to homes. Me being a public health specialist, and I have also been working at grassroots level, had to communicate very quickly, very effectively with our own networks the threat of COVID. It's a new disease and it's a new virus. So how do you get the ordinary people to understand how you protect yourself? So I was very happy and humbled that I was able to be part of that communication process, risk communication process. We as a movement, Sarvodaya has always been in the forefront of disaster, emergency relief, emergency response. But this was a very peculiar situation where our own workers could not go out, who would have otherwise within hours be on the ground helping the people who were affected. So people were affected not because of the disease itself, but because of the lockdown. They didn't have means of livelihood and they lost their income. So it was a crisis situation. Nevertheless, we were able to operate, and with special permission, we were able to look after care homes, children's homes, homes for disabled, elders' homes, which were at risk because most of these homes were being run with public donations. We get a lot of people contributing to run the homes through donating food and so on. So that time, the home, my own home, this room became kind of an operations room to manage an island-wide public health and emergency relief operation. So I am very happy that though it was not considered a personal home, but it's our own home, being a center of providing solace and compassion in action to the people who are affected. So the larger Sarvodaya movement has always been a home for people who are in need. And also it's a home where people's own confidence is nourished and grown so that they can take control of their own lives. So our movement has also evolved for 6 decades, and today we stand trying to affect a change in not just the social system of this country, but also trying to make an impact on the economy, how we evolve a grassroots up economy, which is just non-exploitative, which is the whatever the enterprises that we start are in harmony with nature, do not divide people in terms of their ethnicities or religion or class or caste. So Sarvodaya is also at an exciting transition today. So we have been also in the process of redefining the purpose of the movement, and we have come up with this beautiful purpose statement, which is to build a just, sustainable and compassionate social order that fulfills the basic human needs of the community through individual and collective awakening. that internal awakening, internal spiritual upliftment is so important in the development process. Finally, the other home that we are building, and it's a home, it's a cluster of homes around the country, are learning centers. Unique learning centers which start from the grassroots villages that we are working in, and then connected to the network what we call Sarvodaya Institute of Higher Learning. The main center is located in a beautiful green environment near a lake in the southern part of the country, little bit outside Colombo. And here we try to also redefine the purpose. And just before the corona crisis came, we had just come up with this again the purpose for the new institute, which Alexander also referred to in his presentation about integral development learning. So it's a center to provide space for learning and leadership that is rooted in the community, with the aim of generating solutions to the unprecedented challenges facing humanity and the planet. So we have a young team which is working on from agriculture to nature, replanting, and connecting to entrepreneurship, youth entrepreneurship, using also the modern technology, information communication technology. So it's a holistic approach to learning based on the communities that we work in, rooted deeply in the community, and their own wisdom is also part of the so-called curriculum. It's experiential learning. So through that, we are hoping that we will develop a new leadership for our country. The leaders who are able to transcend narrow ethnic and religious barriers, but who have a deep spiritual inspiration and who are connected to their own communities in a much deeper and a very strong manner, so that collectively we can change our country's future, connected with all the initiatives that you all are being part of. Sarvodaya, therefore, is very happy to be connected to this network. And thank you for giving this opportunity. And thank you, Alexander and Rama. And over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for so passionately and practically not only bringing the power of home in all its facets to life for all of us, but also, you know, a full-fledged nationwide approach to integral development. There's much to take into our hearts.
Truly. And this whole thing, you know, that your home, your father's home, the country as a home, and your loving reverence for the planet as a home, and the beautiful lotuses sitting near your Buddha. It's so, so touching. Thank you. And hope you are able to stay with us to the end of the session late at night in Sri Lanka. So let's take
Thank
your
you.
words, your karuna, the compassion that pours through you, through Sarvodaya, that connects us all in this moment, with every single person on this call saying they love you. With a hand on our heart and a hand stretched out to everyone else. Breathing together as we move to the desert-turned oasis.
And as we move from a culture of compassion and care and conscience that Vinya evoked to harvesting the wisdom of life, which is the northern part of our charter. And we are moving to meet now Dr. Maximilian Ablution, and you will be surprised his name is not purely Egyptian, because he's grown up. He was born and bred in Germany and then made Egypt and Sekhem his home. And while you saw behind Vinya the lotus, the Buddhist symbol, you see now behind me the goddess, oops, the image still there? You see behind me the Egyptian goddess Maat. And Maat is not only the symbol, as you perhaps all know, of balance, of justice. It is also the symbol of Max's PhD that he wrote of us on integral development in Egypt at Sechem. And when he finished, this traveled to Home for Humanity.
Thank you, Max.
Yeah, we are forever grateful. Now over to you, Max, to share about how Sechem has become a home, not just for you, but for so many Egyptians and for so many aspirations.
Thank you very much. I had really the feeling of being connected and reminded of so many times that I have seen you before here in Egypt, but also in many different other places, as you mentioned, at your Home for Humanity, and having also people from our call here also having visited Sikkim or meeting them at different places. So it's already a feeling of being part of a community that I would call home. As you mentioned, I came from Germany over to Egypt, and it was a decision from a gut feeling, something that I took as an intuition for the quest for an adventure or for getting to know something new in the world that was out of my comfort zone. And for me, that's a very interesting and important notion that I kind of, I'm now linked by destiny, and my life took this chance here to build a new home in Egypt. And it was indeed not a mind-driven endeavor. It was a more wholesome decision that was also not really clear where this journey would end. But for me, I call this a home because it's a place where I learn and a place where I develop. So a place for learning and development is for me something that belongs to a home. And Sikkim is a wonderful place, not only for my daughter that comes here now into the picture, but Sikkim is a wonderful place to learn from life, because it is the economic sphere is part of our daily engagement to create value, but it's also having educational institutions that have einmal kurz die Mama gehen, bitte. We have educational institutions from the cultural life where learning is, of course, in the center. And then we have ecology as the basis for the value creation with many farms and farmers. And of course, the teachings that we get from nature while working biodynamically and organically is the greatest learning school ever, because all the principles of life that you see in nature are a source of inspiration. And then, as my personal passion is this social sphere of how to relate to other human beings in these educational institutions, like in Jordan, or in the kind of businesses that we do to create products, like also Pax Herbal is doing. And here's another example of how to create teas in order to create value, but also to relate to human people. And for me, this has been a kind of analogy to not greening the desert, but greening the social desert, the relationship spheres. For Ibrahim Abouleish, my beloved grandfather-in-law, who died in 2017, it was a mission of his life to come back to Egypt, his home country, after spending 20 years in Austria and in Europe, where he embodied a fusion of culture that is a central element of the kind of power of social innovation that we witness here at Sikkim. It's a fusion of culture. And when he came back to his beloved home country and wanted to renew a culture, when at the time it was full of war and ecological, destruction of certain ways of doing conventional agriculture, he knew that a cultural impulse must be seeded, and he knew that there must be a holistic impulse, because in the desert there's nothing. A holistic impulse that is integrated with the force of Maat, the kind of goddess that resembles the unity and the balanced harmonic approach of cultural, societal, economic, and also ecological life. And when I came to Sikkim, I knew that it will take me a lifetime to understand this, but I also knew that I belong here, and the PhD program that I did with Alexander and Ronnie was a kind of way to understand the grammar of social innovation, the rhythm behind something that I could witness and see here, but something that also was conceptually important to understand, at least for me, being also somehow a rational mind. And this kind of journey that made me understand the rhythm of social innovation, that connected me also so deeply to the other places, because in all cases that we have seen so far, this kind of rhythm of grounding in the local context and culture, this emergence of getting new ideas in, and then this kind of navigation and structures and innovations to address societal and organizational burning issues, and also the affecting via businesses and education. All that connects us together, and we have a language to share. And I was so enriched by the different cases that were all around the world, and I'm privileged to be part of a case where I'm proud to work in a times of crisis in the world, because we have an answer, and we're giving our best to bring a vision down to earth, and it's surely not perfect. And as I said, for me, it is mainly about bringing in a new generation also that I'm part of, to help play a role and a contribution towards this vision. And since our pioneer founder left us, we have created more momentum on making this explicit. We have formulated vision goals. We have created a Sikkim Future Council that kind of embodies the legal ownership from Sikkim to itself, and being steered by an association that can be filled by future generations of leaders, regardless of their cultural background. So we are paving the way towards a new phase of the organization as a Sikkim. It's of course always pioneering, but also it's a living being. It's organized maybe more in an integral way, where everyone has to play a conscious part in the whole, and that is the kind of learning experience. That is what the father of our Angela, who lives here with us since over 30 years, said. Yeah, Sikkim is a big school, because we are learning every day how different levels of culture and consciousness serve a common purpose. And last but not least, I want to mention that it is very important to build a transformative journey for people who join us, because more and more it is important that you engage with the power of yourself and your burning issues towards the organizational call, and bring this into an alignment, and then it flows also towards the societal burning issues. And this alignment is what we need to create. And Alexander mentioned it before. In the last 7 years, there was this beautiful connection with the students from Alexander's course that did courseworks around the case of Sikkim, and helped to address questions that we had, and to also feed into my PhD. And right now, our latest kind of outcome is to design a transformative journey for agents of change or world makers that come here for a year and that go through this journey together. And that's how I find academics and practice have to work hand in hand. And that's what I wish for students on all over the world to experience. And I'm thankful that this is happening also here at our place. And yeah, I'm sending out greetings now, and hopefully we have time to discuss more in the later stage of this call. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you for taking us into Sikkim, which is not just a big school, but also a big home. The idea that From our home, we can live and learn in every moment. So we will zip right across. I have this feeling, as looking at the time, we may not have time for that follow-up conversation we really want to have as a roundtable between all of us, where we can bring all the incredible comments we are receiving from the participants on the chat, but maybe we simply convene it at another moment, but the conversation has begun. And where better to take this now than into the Mata Atlantica of Brazil, where two North and South Americans, after having traveled around the world, found themselves in a new family. And so you already felt with Max, the new generation of conscious leaders, regenerative leaders is here. And this is the daily life of Anya and Katie, who are working on world making, on creating a school of sustainability and regeneration in Sinal Val, where our beloved friend, co-founder of Home for Humanity now, Thais Poral, who was also the founder, the convener of the Women's Caucus in 1992 at the Rio Summit, a great women's leader, environmental leader, and sustainability leader, has created Sinal Val. And over to the two of you. And you have to say a special word about Katie, who came from Harvard and never went back, and Anya.
And Anya, who said some 5 years ago, 4 years ago, in the very room from which we speak, in a course on reshaping international development. And that was the starting point for a junior fellowship, which took her straight into the rainforest of Brazil.
And we want to say, as we've seen the two of you become such inspiring leaders, co-creators, we have been so inspired. So over to you.
So thank you so much. Anya and I are extremely honored to even be part of this group of amazing world makers. So thank you so much for Rama and Alexander for inviting us. Rama and Alexander, I met 5 years ago in my first few months when I was here at Sinal at a really amazing event on world leadership. And it really set a new reference for my life and for what I thought was possible. So Rama and Alexander have been mentors and really important people for us for many years. So Sinal do Vale, just quickly, is a center for regeneration of ecosystems, communities, and individuals. And we are located in the Atlantic rainforest. You can see behind us, we are surrounded by trees and rich forest. We are only 50 kilometers from Rio de Janeiro. But when you come here, you feel like you're in the deep forest. And this is the periphery region of Rio where there are many issues of infrastructure, of deforestation, of uncontrolled population growth. So Sinal was born with this idea of how do we take the global knowledge, the solutions, and looking at the local resources that we have here to come up with prototypes and experiments and come up with solutions for this area that can be replicated, that can be co-created with the people here. I came to Sinal almost 6 years ago after graduating from university, from Harvard, studying government and global health and health policy. And I really connected with what Max said about leaving one country and then finding a home in another. And I was always looking I felt like in university, I was being forced to choose between, I always wanted to have an impact in the world, but it has to be through economics, or it has to be through education, or it has to be through health. And I always wanted to integrate everything. And I always felt like there was something behind, there was always a root, there was something behind the problems that we were studying. And so when I came to Brazil and I discovered Sinal, I realized that what was behind everything was the human aspect that I had not learned about. And coming to Sinal, it's a school for change agents, a school for developing your personal skills and realizing that the inner state of change makers makes all the difference in the impact and the actions that we take. So here at Sinal, it's a community of, there's about 10 of us who live here, and the majority of the staff is local here from the small town of Santo Antonio. And it's a new home. We have people from all around the world. And diversity is what makes this home a home for humanity. And it's not just, diversity, it's like, how do you work together? How do you build solutions together and integrate all those different perspectives and different mental models, and realize that you coming from Harvard is not any more important than someone who has spent their life planting or doing art, and that all different abilities are equally important and must be integrated.
Yeah, so thank you, Katie. So just reaching out on that, I think the important part as what we can bring to this conversation about home and education and transformative education is that Sinal gave us really both a platform, and by platform it's actually a home where we have all the conditions here and the chance to experiment and the chance to learn by doing, and this school is not a school that you sit down and we study. Like, we learn through interactions, we learn through projects, we learn through errors, we learn through actually trying to implement all the ideas that we have on the ground with people with real problems, real issues, and that's something that I've never had the opportunity to learn before. So my story is really similar to Katie, just from a different perspective. So I'm originally from Venezuela, and I went to university in St. Gallen, and through Alexander's course that he was talking about, I really opened my mind, because I was going to a business school, which is a really limited way of solving problems and with a limited lens. And I really was seeking for something that was integral, and I didn't knew it at that time. And really through Alexander and his course and Rama, my worldview was opened, and through new ideas, new experiments, I learned all about these cases in writing and studying. And now I feel really so privileged that, I mean, it's our time to speak or to be part, and really integration. And I did the junior fellowship that Alexander was talking about, and came to Sinal originally to write my bachelor thesis about Sinal and implementing the integral development here. And I stayed here already 4 years. So I really accidentally seeking for a change, seeking for a connection with my Latin American background, seeking grounding and integral education, I found a home. I found a family that it's not my blood, and we really work together, live together, and jointly try to create solutions for our regenerative future that we don't really know how it works. And the special part is that we're all young people, and we all got the chance from Thais and the community to really try, because most young people want to do a change, but they have not the tools and the platforms and the authentic relationships and mentorship they need to actually make them. So they get stuck and they go to the normal, what they think it's normal, and they don't have the chance to jump into the unknown. And I think Sinal gave us really this chance to, like, okay, I'm not gonna go back home, I'm not gonna go back working for a bank, but no, I'm gonna take the chance to have the time to make this as a home, to learn through doing, and create wonderful projects and wonderful activities. And from an organizational perspective and from an inner perspective, we had a chance to, I really feel, to become an integral leader, and we're still learning. It's a dynamical process, but I really feel, reflecting now how I was 4 years ago, that Sinal gave me the tools, the inner skills to become a better person, the inner skills to become a better team player, the inner skills and interpersonal skills to become a team player and create amazing projects, but from within, outside, integrated in our local community here, integrated in our local context here of the Mata Atlantica.
Yeah, and I think one thing about, in the context of COVID, one thing that we saw is that we realized, first of all, our life didn't change on a big level through COVID, because we already live in a small community. We have access to food in our permaculture gardens and the fruits of the forest. We have clean water that we've protected. And we saw that many people from the city were looking for alternative lifestyles, and more people, I think people are valuing more this lifestyle and these solutions that we come up with here. It's starting to become, people understand it more. So in some ways it was very validating to realize, oh, we are coming up with the solutions that this future does need, because the future is arriving.
Yeah, and the nice part, connecting back, is I came here through the project, through this Home for Humanity, and then I became a mentor, and Katie became a mentor of the next students of the course. And it's kind of like, it's so nice to be able to have an intergenerational connection. So we learn from Thais, which is our mentor, and work daily with her. And we also develop through her. We learn from her, but she learns from us too. And then we also can give that knowledge back and that mentorship back, that to other students, for example, from St. Gallen that we mentor, and each year we have that really co-creation and sharing of knowledge, that it's really interwoven. So it's not from down that we learn and then we just listen. It's really like this intergenerational learning and really valuing the knowledge that every single person has. And it's so different and valuable that it's really difficult to find in normal educational institutions. And that's, I think, how Max said, really interconnects all of these organizations that we're talking before. And that's also the task of Home for Humanity and Alexander and Rama, that really made this wonderful network and between all of us. And I think it was there, but now it's getting even stronger, and we can start having these interconnections between and weaving these manuals and learning journeys all together to really try to give this, because we know it comes from us, that we know there's a need for this type of education. Everybody's seeking it, but it's difficult to find. So how can we, from our perspective, give that to other students and to the next generation and expand it in a way?
I think our time is up, but thank you so much. We're really happy to be part of this.
Thank you. Let's ask Georg to get everyone back, all of our panel. Unfortunately, the time is telling us that it's time to hand back to dear Jim, to Dr. Garrison. But what we have just typed in is to request you all, if you could, because we can't, George, could we? Yes, I guess we are not able to see everyone, but I guess everyone else is. That's beautiful. If we can get all our beautiful group in, is what we want to do is breathe together with all the panelists. We've put in a request on the screen, on your chat screen. Please, what we would love to hear from you is what touched your heart, what echoes and resonates with your life, your inner home, your organization, your own home, wherever you live in the world, and your work, your place in the world. We want to hear that. Send that in and we will save the chat screens. And please do send us your emails. You've all asked us for the websites of our roundtable pioneers, and we will also connect your emails with them so you can stay in touch with us, and we can keep the conversation going, even if it's offline and no longer on this wonderful Humanity Rising platform, for which we are all so grateful. So now let's hear all of our breaths. So I ask you all, our speakers, to unmute yourselves so we can hear the connection as I ring the gong once and we reach out with our hands to each other, so we can feel the soil of the earth, this one home on Mother Earth that we all are, this humanity in unity with all life, with our young emerging leaders, our established, inspiring leaders. And perhaps if each of you could just say in your own languages, including your lovely dog and language, just say a word which is humanity, so we can hear it in these languages. Yeah. Starting with Haifa.
الإنسانية يا جماعة.
Thank you.
Our shared humanity.
And Selm has dropped out of the call, so we go to Vinya.
Selm is here, but my video is muted. Can you please enable me on video?
We hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Max. Thank you, Anselm. We see you.
So I would say,
yeah.
Masalama and Hobelness. It's with peace and with love for the people. That's what I'm feeling right now.
Thank you. Dear Vinya.
Minisat kama rakaganimu. That is, let's cherish humanity.
Beautiful. Thank you. Dearest Katie and Anya.
Humanidade. And there's a great phrase that says, todo mundo, tamo juntos, todo mundo junto, which is everyone together.
So, I mean, what we did in this session, and you could feel we would need much more time, and Jim should have given us 4 hours, not 2 hours. But he
would have. He's so generous.
We are so grateful. A question to the audience: wasn't it beautiful that we could end with combined woman power? So this is really a glimpse into the future, building on Max. And we wanted to share with you that what the space that we were in all together today was a kind of a reflection of an ongoing process which is taking place between us as you meet living role models of a regenerative future who at the same time are creating innovative education for young world makers, both together, new practice, new education. And the question that Rama typed into our shared chat is inviting all of you to share your perspectives on this, because we would like to invite you into this process. And Jim, if you get a thumbs up, we would like to end as we began with a poem,
collective poem,
and in this case, even a collective one.
Yeah, I should just quickly, before the poem, say our dear Stephanie, who is Anya's follow-up, so a junior fellow in our integral development course now, is the brilliant one who's been putting in all the information in the background. And I'm asking Stephanie, we will continue this anniversary Love Weekend with more sessions with other youth, other collaborators, other junior fellows on justice, on transformative education, on how to become yourselves a home for humanity, on healing and empowerment. And Stephanie is just pasting in the links so we don't take up more of Jim's time, but the conversations can continue and you can connect with other young world makers in the next 2 days.
So in the spirit of co-creation between all cultures, all continents, and all ages, and all gender, we want to conclude with a poem which is called Be Home. But this time you have to unmute yourselves because it is an interactive poem. It's composed of 1 syllables, and I would say the syllable, and you would just repeat. So we are getting very briefly into a shared rhythm. Called Be Home.
If it's possible, George, without totally disrupting the system, and not taking away too much of Jim's time, that even everyone online can somehow be heard, unmuted, but if not, we'll imagine that.
Right, so Haifa is still muted and Max. Okay,
let's go for it.
We are ready. We are beginning. All. That. Life. Once. You.
Me.
Is. To. Live. It. And.
To.
Be. Home. When. It knocks. On. Your. Door. Which.
Is.
Now.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, George. Thank you to the amazing Humanity Rising team. And we are very happy to be part of this family. Thank you to our extraordinarily inspiring speakers, co-creators, world makers from around the world. Thank you to such an encouraging, life-creating audience, not audience, but co-creators, all of you. Thank you.
Whom we hopefully meet one day, anywhere in the world, but also at home for humanity.
Thanks, Jim.
Over to you, Jim. Thank you.
Wow. What a feast of the spirit. What an extraordinary act of irrational exuberance. Thank you, Alexander and Rama, so much. I mean, what a beautiful expression of your love for each other, of your love for the people that you've drawn into this conversation, of your love for the world, of your love for the future, and your love for home. And it reminds me of, something that, poets and muses and singers have said for many millennia, that in the end, home is not a place, it's a sense of belonging. And I think you brought that realization alive today. And I really want to thank you. And I want to congratulate you on your 10th anniversary. You've honored us. And I think we've all felt privileged to be in your home today. And your home has been the openness of your heart. So I just want to acknowledge you and thank you all on behalf of all of us. And tomorrow, we're going to deepen the dialogue by contemplating the creation of a culture of love and wisdom, which David Lowermore is convening on our behalf. So I want to thank you. This is all part of our program of new mindsets for a new world. And home is part of the new mindset, and creating a culture of love and wisdom, which we did today, is so important for all of us to embrace with our whole being. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow between 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock p.m. Central European Time. And in the meantime, celebrate your evening, Alexander and Rama. We're at the table with you. Bye, everyone.